Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to another video. We have another thread discussion video, and today we have the 1.5.8 patch notes. We have gone over these previously. It's gonna be kind of like a part two. We went over like the first I want to say 10 pages, but there wasn't any replies for page 11 and 12. Maybe it was 9 pages around there. But we have another topic of a change that was brought to the game, but wasn't really talked about much, and I didn't really see it because I don't really change the battle size option as much, but as you can see, it was changed, and we have a lot of dev replies about it, and also a lot more dev information from that as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to link it down below like always, and let's get right to it. Alrighty, so a player pointed out that, we used to have a slider for battle size, and now it looks like we have a drop down where it shows you pretty much what you can handle based on settings, right? So very low, 200 people. That's like 100 versus 100. This is pretty much how much people you could have on the field, right, at a time. And let's say you pick this 1,000 option, right? And both enemies had 2,000 players, so it's 2,000 versus 2,000, right, or 2,000 troops. What would happen is 500 would spawn on both sides, and every time, some of them would die, more would respawn until, it would never pass that 1,000 mark on the battle at the same time because that would make it lag way too much. So now, as you can see, very low is 200, low is 300, medium is 400, high is 500, very high is 600, and max is 1,000. There it is. So people are upset. This person is upset. He says, my PC was perfect for 800 men, and now what? I have to play at 20 FPS for some boring 600-man battle. Why? Okay. I'll keep it a stack with you. I'll keep it the biggest stack, right? Biggest stack. I don't think you notice a huge difference between 800 and 600 men. Maybe I'm crazy. But when I'm going into the battle, whether it's with 300 guys or 400 guys, still feels like a lot. That might just be me. But I do understand why people are upset with this. Obviously, we had a dynamic slider that can go to any number. And now it's not as good. What I think they should have done was kept the slider and kind of also added these keywords after you pass a certain point. Well, let's say I passed over 200, then the name low would pop up next to the number, right? Like this number would, like, as I'm doing the slider, I would get to see what is very high, what is max, what is high, what is medium. I think that would have been better. But, yeah, that's what they decided to do. Personally, I'm going to keep it 100 too. I don't really care. I play with the 500 basic one, which is 250. If it's an even battle, it'll be 250 on both sides. I think that's enough for me. I think that's more than enough for me. I think if they fix reinforcements and make them spawn outside the map, it'll be fine. But, yeah, personally, it doesn't affect me too much, but I can understand why it does affect other people. Let's see. What else we got? There's got a lot of people talking about that. Fixing things that is not broken. Okay, well, here's okay. So before we get to that, here's why I think they changed it, right? First of all, we never had like the keywords here, very low, low, medium. So people were cranking it up high as they could and then complained that, oh my god, why is my game running so bad? Like, oh my god, my PC handles this, but it can't handle. So again, I think the keywords should have probably been there with the slider even, but I think they did this so people can, if they have a very low NPC, they can know that 200 is probably what they should pick. If they have a standard PC, then they should pick medium, maybe high. If they have a very good PC, they should pick max. That's why they did it. It's much easier to follow, and it will give you a better inclination of what you should pick. Yes, I think the slider was good, but this is what they chose. It's unfortunate, but I think some people will care, but at the same time, yeah. Oh my god, we're still talking about money. Jesus Christ, dog. I already talked about money. It's the dumbest thing. If people think that they've sold out, it's the dumbest thing. They made a single player game in 2020. How did they sell out? When every single company out there is trying to make a multiplayer game. About 90% of game companies nowadays try to make a multiplayer game or a co-op game or something that you can play with friends, and you call out the game that, you know, it does have a multiplayer mode, don't get me wrong, but there's no microtransactions, there's no subscription, there's no nothing, you know? And mostly, a good 95%, I'm pretty sure, play the single player. And there's no Ubisoft-esque microtransactions there too. So again, the whole money thing, so dumb. It's not even worth my time. Yeah, the slider was perfect. Now you have less options. How is that better? Just a random change for the worst? No. It was a change that would help people make sure that they can run the game properly. Again, I think people are overreacting. I think that maybe they should have made the max more. But again, let's keep it 100 with you. Not a lot of people are running it at 1,000 men. You know, in terms of the whole player base, you need a really good computer to run it at 1,000 men on the battlefield at the same time. You do. And I have a good computer. My computer is about, I want to say, it cost me, at the time I bought it a couple years ago, it cost me around $4,000. I bought it because I had a job where I had to actually use the computer to do some rendering and stuff of that nature, like video stuff, before I even started my YouTube. So it was an expense. So, I wanted to spend some good money on it. But I have a very good computer. And, since I record, I have to kind of turn it down a notch. I can probably run the 1,000 part, but I don't think so. I think this is, I'll keep it 100. I think this is fine. I understand the commotion, but it doesn't sound too serious. Maybe they could have added a 750 option, maybe a 1,500 option, and then people would have been more satisfied. But if people are upset because they can't do 450, which is in the middle of here, and now they can only choose between 400 and 500, that's a little bit ridiculous, man. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. But again, I'll see what they're talking about. All right, now let's see. Oh yeah, I heard about this too. There's a huge problem with raiders all over the map. I'm gonna go check it out, and when I have some time, and we'll see what that's all about. All right, dev response. Battle size, so this is the dev speaking. Battle size slider change from the previous patch has more than one reason. All of the other options have quality definitions, but battle size slider didn't have those. Bada bing, bada boom. What did I say? It didn't have an indication. There it is. It didn't conform to other performance options related to this. If a player maxes out on the slider, they might not notice how this change will affect their battle performance and wonder why their performance is so much worse compared to their expectations from their rig. Boom. Since they didn't have a reference point for the option, for the quality of the option, if a performance option doesn't have quality definitions, the player cannot expect what to get performance-wise with the number they're selecting. Is 200 low? Is 300 low? Is 1,000 very high, or is it not? What number is the medium? Yes. Now he continues, we had many instances of players reporting bad performance in battles, and in their options, the battle size option was maxed out. This is mostly because previously we didn't give enough information about the quality equivalence to this option. Players did not know what to expect with the number they're selecting. Okay, which makes sense. Again, it didn't state what it actually was. Now, he continues, if the game supplies an overall option, the options below the overall option have to be affected in accordance to that selection. If a player selects medium overall, they should see the medium selection reflected in other options. Just setting the slider value in overall selection isn't enough, since the player may want to change options after selecting an overall option. I do that as well. Most of the time, I select high overall and lower the anti-analyzing to off or the FXAA, since I have a high-res monitor. To represent this, battle size needs to be a selected drop-down. There it is. Like I stated before, it makes sense. People were complaining, and they had the slider all the way up. They didn't know if that was too high, too low. There was no real big explanation. And when you chose the option to overall make something all medium, it wouldn't change the slider option, and people would still have bad a bad experience, and they wouldn't know why, because there was no indication. And again, I kind of get what they're complaining about, but at the same time, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. You know, if your previous option was 457 and now you have to choose between 400 and 500, I don't think that's that big of a deal. You're not going to notice the change, I promise you. You know, and if you were maxing out at what, 2,000, whatever was the highest was at, you'll be fine at 1,000. You really won't notice the difference. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're really in the battle, you won't notice a difference. That's just my opinion of it. We got the global moderator. Let's see what he has to say. So in short, the reason is people not understanding the more stuff means more calculation means less performance. It's not ideal, but I see why you would want to address the problem. Is there any way to toggle between the slider or tagged options? I'd reckon in time we get a battle sizer mod that goes beyond 1,000. If game, your setup allow for going up to those scales anyways. Yes, there probably will be that. But again, if we're talking about the overall player base, like overall, bro, not everybody's rocking a PC that's over 2K, over 3K, over 4K. And like that's a very small percentage that can actually even go beyond 1,000. I don't even want to touch 1,000. I have a very good PC. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. You know, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think people are just overreacting. Dev responds, a toggle for slider and drop down for the same options is not planned, but scaling the option values according to current hardware is planned. In either case, the current max 1,000 will always be selectable from the options. Okay. So it doesn't say much. So maybe they'll up it, but at the same time, again, whether it's 1,500 on the map, 2,000 on the map, or 1,000 on the map, I don't think you'll really see a difference, in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure there will be a mod that just gets rid of it completely if you really wanted to. But they did this for stability reasons, and again, I think a 500 versus 500 battle is already as crazy as it sounds. So I'm not upset with it. All right. Another person. Couldn't you just keep the slider but attach a label next to it which changes from very low to max depending on the slider set? Yes, I did say that as well. Then you give the players feedback they need while also letting the players fine-tune their settings as they like. I agreed with this. They could have went this way as well. Let's see what the dev has to say. Then it's a range, and that's not really the information that we're trying to convey. If 1,000 is max, what is 999? Is high or max or custom? Is 601 max or high or very high? On non-determined, not 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 numbers, is the sire going to say custom or something else? Does the player need to select every overall low to high option and look at the slider and understand the corresponding number, or try to hit these specific numbers by chance? Yes. And again, like I've stated before, let's check the sizes real quick so I don't get these wrong. If you were at 450 before and now you have to choose between these two numbers, I promise you will not see a big difference. I understand they took away the option to do 450, and that was your best option. You loved it. But if you pick 400, you won't notice a difference. If you pick 500, you won't notice a difference. You know, that's just what it is. And if you were picking like some abstract number, like you were picking 347, like, okay, I guess. But again, I think this is fine. You know, I'll just keep it at that. What else do we got? Okay, so player states, hold on. Okay, so we got over here. So player, I think you're overthinking it. Just do 1 to 200, very low, 200 to 300, low, 300 to 400, medium, and so on. They're just arbitrary divisions, so it doesn't need to be precise. Players will get the point. Okay. Dev responds, but like I said, by the implementation, 600 to 1,000 would be max. 601 and 1,000 are very different quality / performance wise. There it is. Then another player replies, well, why is there no option between 600 to 1,000? What about the boys who play with 700 to 900? Now I have to choose to sacrifice our troop count to or our FPS. This is not enjoyable change. I hope you understand. Either ways, we lose out. Bro, come on, bro. Okay. Jesus Christ. Dog, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. If you were playing at 750 and you change it to 600, I promise you, you will not all of a sudden be like, "Oh my God, I'm not having any more fun," because instead of if there were 750, then each player would get what? Each player would get 375, right? But if you picked the 600 option, each player gets 300. So you notice that 75 in that huge battle, 300 versus 300. You notice that extra 75. Like, bro, let's be honest here. Let's keep it. Come on now. Like, yeah. Okay. Dev states, I can certainly bring up one more or more divisions between 600 to 1,000 and bring up internally. There it is. I'm pretty sure they were going to probably add something in between there and probably add up more there. But again, this whole, all of a sudden I have to choose between my FPS and sacrifice our troops. Like, dog, it ain't that serious. I'll keep it 100 with you. It ain't that serious. Okay, so we have people still talking about how, these are too far of a division. And Dev responds, if it's the same between 600 and 1,000, then it's not conveying anything. And yes, I'll bring up adding one more division between 600 and 1,000. There you go. So that will be brought up and probably added shortly. They'll probably add a 750 option or an 800, but I think 750. You have council performance. Boys, are you referencing the battle size slider? Oh, no, okay, he's just asking a question. All right. What did this guy have to say? Okay, we're just arguing over some trivial numbers. Okay. I'm trying to find some actual dev replies over here. We have a moderator saying, how about bring back the slider? Okay, well, if they... But have a performance impact percent that changes along with the slider increments of 10 troops. That way, 1,000 troops would show us a 100% impact on performance. Okay, but with we had this with the slider and people still didn't get it. Like, if you up the battle size, like, if I'm not mistaken, the CPU usage went up and down, so you can still see that. But we still don't have the indication of this is low, this is medium, this is that. And that's what they're going for. They want to make sure if you pick overall performance to be at low because you have a low NPC, it will change the battle slider for you if you don't know how to tweak the options yet. While I understand people's frustration, they want as much people on the battlefield as possible because they have this amazing PC. The majority of players playing, the big majority of players playing, are not playing in the 1,000 marks, they're not playing the 800 marks, they're playing in 500 or below. That's just the fact. I know this is hard to digest, but I don't think it's a bad change. I get where they came from. I understand the slider is more dynamic, but this was the choice they made, so the majority can have a better time and a better experience with the performance. That's just what it is. They are going to add, like he stated, that they are going to talk about and adding another position in between there, and I think that's good enough. And like I said before, if you played at some really random number in between some of the presets that we have now, you won't notice the difference. It's not as a big deal. It's just, it's not a big deal. Okay, Dev responds to that question. I would imagine performance impact would be 100% at 600 and go above 100% after very high, but in the end I would argue introducing another metric like performance impact percentage would complicate things even more. True. I see adding one more division between 600 and 1000 is the best in between solution. I do as well. Okay, we're not. Okay. Let's see if we get some more information that's not based on that. Or, actually... Okay, so we have different information now. So we're going to just make this video on the battle size change, and, then we'll talk about other stuff in another video. Overall, here's what I have to say about it. I think it's a good change for the majority of people. Yes, at this point, the minority of people who have a very good PC, I would consider myself in that place. You don't have as much flexibility anymore to go as high as you want, but at the same time, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think if you were going past 1,000 before, and now you have to go down to 1,000, you'll be fine. I think if you were playing at 800 before and you have to go down to 600 until they add that extra slot in the middle, you'll be fine. If you were playing in some random number in between two different presets, you'll be fine. I know it's a little bit of that freedom taken away, but again, they did it because it will help a bigger majority of players who don't have these super high-end PCs or also don't really understand how certain things impact performance. Yes, there's some people who play a lot of games, some people who know a lot of stuff about different CPU usages and this and that, but there are also some people who buy a PC who want to just hit the presets and go on and play, and that's just what it is. They don't have time to just look everything up. They don't have time to just go boom, 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 learn about this, learn about that, learn about... That's just what it is. You know what I mean? At one point in my life, I was a person who, wanted to know everything about it because I had a lot of free time. I had a lot of time to myself. I had a lot of time to do things after work or after school, where I could look all this up. I could educate myself. But at the same time, now I'm a grown-up. Now I have a child. Now I have a lot of responsibilities. And, I understand that, sometimes there needs to be simpler approaches that help those players as well that want to enjoy a game without having to do, 300 Google searches. What does this mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? How does that correlate with that? How does this? How does that? And I think this is the best option, So it is what it is. Again, if you're very tech savvy, I'm pretty sure there's some stuff you can change in the code. I'm pretty sure there's a mod out there already being made, or if not already made, and you can find it and get it going. But keep an open mind and understand why this change was made. It is what it is. But there it is. Hopefully this was informative. Ask me any questions, any concerns, and like always, stay safe.